Welcome to the program, everyone. Let's go beyond the headlines. Breaking news from Zamfara. Governor Dauda Lawal has defected from the PDP to the APC. The announcement was made by Deputy Governor Mani Mumuni alongside the Secretary to the State Government, Abubakar Nakwada, after a stakeholders meeting at the Government House in Gusau. And this happened hours after the Court of Appeal affirmed the Federal High Court judgment barring INEC from recognizing the PDP's disputed Ibadan Convention, dealing a major legal setback to the faction that organized the gathering. Let's get some updates, some details from the appellate court. It dismissed the appeal filed by a group led by Tanimu Turaki and even awarded 2 million naira costs against them, describing the appeal as lacking merit. The ruling is already being interpreted politically. Supporters of the Wike camp see it as a legal vindication, while allies of Seyi Makinde insist the convention was legitimate and that the crisis inside the PDP is far from over. I'm joined from our Abuja studio by Haruna Mohammed, who is Publicity Secretary of the PDP. He belongs to the bloc aligned with the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Wike, and which has consistently challenged the legitimacy of the Ibadan Convention. Mr. Mohammed, thank you for joining us on the program this evening.
Yes, thank you. Good evening.
All right, let's start with the ruling itself. The Court of Appeal has now affirmed that INEC cannot validate the Ibadan Convention. In practical terms, what exactly does this decision invalidate inside the PDP today?
Well, first we want to give glory to God for making this possible for us who are loyal and law-abiding members of the PDP. Well, like you know, in the past, the two earlier court judgments have restrained the party from going ahead with that convention. But because some people felt they were above the law, they decided to go ahead and conduct that Amala Convention. So what the Court of Appeal did today is to affirm the decisions of the lower court by telling those recalcitrant members of the party that you are not above the law and you cannot act in disobedience to valid court judgment. In fact, the justices of the Court of Appeal frowned and seriously lambasted the Turaki group, the Damagun group, and the Bala Mohammed Makinde group for disobeying a valid and subsisting court order to the fact that and to the extent that they went ahead and conducted that Amala Convention. So in all of it, for us that are loyal to the Honorable Minister of the FCT, for us that are loyal to rule of law, for us that are passionate about seeing that the PDP remains and stand as a formidable, viable opposition in the country, we are very much happy with the outcome of today's decision by the appellate court.
Add to that the fact that congresses haven't held in some of the states across the nation before that national convention. But there's another way to look at it, Mr. Mohammed. When you look at congresses to conventions, many of your party's disputes now end up before judges. And that's a big concern for stakeholders who have questioned whether or not your party has reached a point where courts, not party organs, now decide its leadership. And they claim that it is litigation that is now running the PDP. How does that rub off on the integrity of your group?
It is not the court that is making decisions on the leadership of the PDP. The court is actually doing what is brought before her and what is legally justiciable. As regards congresses, yes, it was, contend that prior or in the build-up to the convention, there were about 14 states that congresses were not held. And you cannot, in all honesty, disenfranchise those states. The claim by the Turaki group was that they have held such congresses. But even assuming without conceding that they held such congresses, the outcome of such congresses was never documented with INEC. And they, in their own affidavits, admitted that there were only 2 states that congresses was not held. So the issue is, once you have people who are bent on violating extant laws, violating extant provisions of the Electoral Act Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you cannot use cane to flog them into aligning with the party. The best thing you to do as law-abiding citizens is to approach the court. And that is why we have the courts. When laws are broken, when laws are not adhered to, you approach the court, and the court makes interpretations and pronouncement. And this is exactly what happens in the case of the PDP. Congresses were not held, valid notice to INEC was not given, and yet some people felt it was okay to go ahead and conduct such convention, even when the court said, don't do it. They felt they could use
Mr. Mohammed, we've heard from stakeholders from the other side of the table, including supporters of Governor Makinde, who argue that this crisis is really about a struggle for control of the party structure, that it has nothing to do with constitutional compliance. Is there a sense to which you agree that this legal battle is ultimately about power?
Well, for me, as a student of politics, there is nothing wrong even if it is about control of power. And if it is about control of power, it is clear now the Honorable Minister has more powers than all of them. But the truth of the matter is, based on the affidavits, based on the counter claims, based on the counter and affidavits before the courts, there was no such argument as to it is about power tussle. The issues are clear. There were no congresses in 14 states. Is it about power tussle? There was no valid notice to INEC in line with the Electoral Act, I think section 82(1). Is that also power play? The denial of the right of Alhaji Sule Lamido to take part and participate and contest for the national chairmanship of the PDP. Was that also
Mr. Mohammed, your political leader, Wike, serves as a minister in an APC-led federal government. I'm wondering how you respond to accusations that this was the whole idea, to weaken the party from within.
Well, I don't want to agree that the aim is to weaken the party.
Because come to think of it,
about weakening the party,
when you weaken an opposition, just a minute, sir. When you weaken an opposition party like the PDP, which prior to this time was the biggest opposition party since APC came to power, who benefits? Isn't it the ruling party that benefits? And
you want to blame the minister for what is happening in the PDP?
No, I'm asking how you respond to those who say that the whole idea was that he was there to weaken the PDP from within, in favor of the government in our sense.
I just asked you some few questions. Was it Minister Wike that authorized the NWC not to sell nomination form to Alhaji Sule Lamido? Was it Minister Wike that refused to conduct congresses in 14 states? There was an NWC headed by Damagum, and Damagum has his absolute loyalty to Governor Bala Mohammed and the rest. So how is it that it was the fault of Wike that the party refused to comply with extant laws? Is Wike a member of the NWC? Come on. And I totally disagree that the people who are bent on bending the rules to suit their own personal interests and egos are not being accused of deliberate attempts to kill the party.
What they are saying...
Just look at it.
Mr.
Governor, hold on. Let me land on this. Land on this. Just a few days ago, about a week ago, Governor Fintri decamped to APC. Today, Governor Lawal Dauda decamped to APC. Were these people not the arrowheads of conducting that illegal convention in Oyo? Today, they have all moved to the APC. Did Minister Wike or myself move to the APC?
So here's the point, Mr. Mohammed. here's the point your critics are saying, that inside the PDP, they say the real problem is that a key figure in your bloc, here from Wike, is serving in the Bola Ahmed Tinubu administration while still influencing PDP politics. So help us understand the logic. Can someone serve in an APC-led government and still claim to be defending the future of an opposition party like the PDP?
Has Minister Wike ever told you he is not a member of the PDP? He is a member of the PDP. And Minister Wike is never working for APC. He has never attended any APC meeting. He has never attended any program convened by the APC. He is working for the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I can tell you, or let me take you back memory lane. Governor Bala Mohammed assumed as the minister of the FCT as a member of the then ANPP, while Goodluck Jonathan was in the PDP. So constitutionally, there is nothing wrong with this. And prior to accepting to work for Mr. President, Honorable Minister Wike had consulted all the PDP governors. They agreed that he should go ahead and accept that appointment. He did. He consulted the National Working Committee of the party, and they did not decline. In fact, all these governors were asked to submit 10 names each per state for federal government consideration. And even Governor Makinde, on a national daily, attested to the fact that he too submitted a ministerial slot or a ministerial name that was eventually rejected by the president. So why are we picking out the minister of the FCT on this? What we should be looking at is, now that he is the FCT minister, is he discharging his duties as the FCT minister diligently? Has he made out a landmark difference between his own administration and the previous administrations? Has he ever interfered in the activities of the APC? He has always been consistent, and just last week or so, he held a media chat and reiterated his position about his role as a member of the PDP, and then his role as a cabinet member in the Tinubu.
I hear you, Mr. Mohammed, but not many people will agree with you, because there's a thin line between his job as FCT minister and his influence even within the APC as a PDP member, where you consider what happened recently in Rivers by-election and what happened at the FCT council election. But let's talk about what the minister is saying now. After this Court of Appeal judgment, it's called for unity in the PDP. But you know, the reality is that relations between both camps appear deeply strained. Is genuine reconciliation still possible now? Or you think he's just extending an olive branch that nobody is willing to accept?
Well, for us, under the Abdurrahman Mohammed and Senator Anyau's-led leadership, we have remained consistent that our arms are wide open. Come back to PDP. The issues are just minor. It's between follow the rules or follow your ego. Now that decisions have been made by the lower courts and, of course, the appellate court, I think it is time for them to do away with all manner of ego. Come back. For us, we will accept them if they genuinely love and have the PDP at heart, and if they genuinely want to follow and do things according to law. Why not? We are calling on them. Come, we are ready to accommodate you. This, what happened today, is a victory for all of us. You know, we are magnanimous in today's victory. We are saying, come, we are ready to accept you. We are ready. And of course, even before today's judgment, a good number of critical stakeholders have not only indicated interest, they have submitted themselves to the supremacy of the party. And we are going to work hand in hand with them to have a successful convention. And I can tell you we'll be having a next meeting on Wednesday, and you will be surprised by the number of who is who in the PDP that will attend that next meeting. All of this is in an effort to have an all-inclusive national convention that will protect the interest of all party members.
Believe me, seeing Governor Makinde and his faction in that convention is going to be the biggest news of the year. And I'm sure even you does not believe that that is a possibility at all politically. Because as we speak now, some political voices are already urging the Makinde-Turaki bloc to leave the PDP and join another platform. In fact, some are specifically mentioning the ADC. What does that mean for the PDP? Because I'm wondering who's even left there now. The APC now has 31 governors. One of the PDP governors just moved today. Another one moved last week or a week before. I'm wondering what is left of your party after this Court of Appeal victory?
Well, there's nothing surprising in politics if tomorrow you see Governor Makinde paying visit to the Honorable Minister, possibly to say, I am sorry for what I have done. And I believe the minister has a large heart, has a big heart, is a forgiving man. He may likely, no doubt, even forgive him and accommodate him. So saying that it is not possible, for us as politicians, we know that there is nothing impossible in politics. And as regards the issue of their possible defection to ADC or APC, this is within their own constitutional right. They are free to move to any party as enshrined under Section 40, under fundamental rights provision as enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. But then, we would love to have them, provided they will show signs of remorse. We will accept them.
But what I'm really saying, Mr. Mohammed, is that for many Nigerians watching from outside now, the PDP increasingly looks like a party consumed by internal battles. How damaging is this crisis to your party's credibility as an opposition force ahead of 2027? I can count the number of governors you have in one hand. I doubt if you have up to 5. I mean, you just lost Zamfara.
When PDP or when people begin to count the fortunes of PDP by the number of governors they have, I think that is quite not fair on the part of the PDP. What they need to look at is, what is the level of, or how deeply rooted is PDP across the nooks and crannies of this country? Go to every ward in this country. You will see that there are diehard PDP members who, irrespective of the differences, irrespective of the disputes, they remain firm, resolute, and dedicated to the party. Supporters of PDP are such that they don't look at the personalities in the party. They look at the PDP in the party. And that is why even when governors are leaving, the party still remains strong. That is not to say that certain aspects of the party has not been weakened, but I can tell you that with today's Court of Appeal decision, a lot of people will reload their energy, and a lot of people will renew their energy towards the survival and victory of PDP.
I hear you, Mr. Mohammed, and I understand your sentiment, but in reality, no one has emerged as president in this country without the significant support of governors. Whether that will change in 2027, time will tell. But let me ask you directly, who really controls the PDP today? The 2 or 3 governors remaining, the National Working Committee, or political heavyweights like Wike?
You mean who controls the PDP?
Exactly.
No, I don't understand what you mean by control, but what I know is that there is a leadership headed by Abdurrahman Mohammed. And that leadership, the caretaker committee leadership, has been affirmed by the Federal High Court in Ibadan. That is one. The leader, the national leader, is the Honorable Minister of the FCT. But controlling the party is in the hands of the people, the members of the PDP. That is why it is power to the people.
The next general election may still be some months away, but as you can tell, political alignments are already forming. If this leadership crisis persists, how confident are you that the PDP can present a united front in 2027 that will make some impact?
Well, we will most definitely. And I think no right-thinking, patriotic and loyal member of the party will continue to deceive himself that there's faction or there's problems within the party. It is either you align with us or you move quietly to where you want to go. Allow us to have our party. And I can tell you, and I can assure and guarantee you, that in the next common weeks, by the time we conclude with our national convention, a substantive national leadership is elected. You will see how people will begin to troop into the national secretariat of the PDP with a view to purchasing nomination forms for all political elective offices. We are quite optimistic that 2027 will shock those who feel that we are already relegated to the background.
This was a party that had about 32 or more governors in 2007, considered the largest political party in Africa by stakeholders from within. Some even went on to say that it was going to remain in power for the foreseeable future as far as Nigeria is concerned. In reality, is your party still capable of any form of significant political challenge, to the ruling party in 2027? Because it seems what Nigeria is watching is the rapid weakening of its main opposition party. When you discuss opposition in Nigeria today, they look the way of the ADC. What does that make you feel as a PDP member?
Well, it is unfortunate that we have lost a sizable number of governors, or if not all the governors, to either AP, I think to all to APC. It is unfortunate, but I still insist that when you look at 2015, what was the number of governors in the PDP and how many were with the APC? It is true that governors play a considerable role in ensuring victories, but that is not absolute. What matters is the membership. And if you look at the APC governors today, how many of them are performing in their respective states? Look at the amount of money the president is pumping to the states, and what these governors, particularly those of the APC extraction, are doing is not commensurate to what they are getting. And the man on the street is fully aware of all these things. So I can tell you that by the time we field in our candidates, people will vote according to their conscience. Already people are yearning for change. And I can tell you that with a free, credible elections, we are going to get as many as possible.
How practical is that? Because you mentioned that Wike is the national leader of the PDP. He is now supporting Mr. President's second term. He said that for the 10th time that is going to support President Tinubu for his second term. How practical is it that he will now lead the PDP, to provide an alternative presidential candidate in 2027?
We are not talking about presidential. We are talking about governorship seats.
Okay, so PDP is not going to compete for the presidential election in 2027.
No,
that's what you're saying,
no,
right?
No. That is not what I'm saying. I'm only giving you an answer in respect to the number of governors you mentioned that PDP lost. And I am telling you that the present APC governors are not doing anything exceptionally well, that the people in their respective states will give them a second chance. And by the time we filled in our own candidates, based on the yearning and aspirations
Mr. Mohammed,
people,
I hear you.
tell you that we will get governors.
And I understand you.
Mr.
Mohammed,
the presidential, we will fill in candidates.
Okay, so PDP is going to compete in the presidential election in 2027?
Most definitely, we will.
Even when your national leader is supporting another candidate?
The national leader, there's difference. I have said it times without number.
Okay.
The national leader is not the chairman of the People's Democratic Party.
All right. Good place to leave it.
Yes.
Haruna Mohammed, Publicity Secretary of the PDP, thank you so much for talking to us this evening.
Thank you very much, and my pleasure having me in your studio.
That's our show today, everyone. Remember, you can watch it again at midnight and 6 a.m. tomorrow. I am Nifemi Okuntoye.